Hi guys. Um, Sorry about. I'm trying to fix my audio. It's just not working. I bought a microphone that didn't work, so I'm gonna just try to. I'll try to speak as well as I can. I guess. So, all right. So this video is on Native Americans and just our perception versus reality. We'll start there, and then maybe I'll get on to a couple other things too. Um, but I'll just start at the top. I didn't put these in any kind of order or anything. I should have. So I think we start out with an Indian school, Indian boarding school. So, well, apparently it's not going to pull up. So it's really strange that it's going that slow. Not even on the internet. So what I want to just show here is look at this. It's just a very mix of different kind of American looking dudes. This one is from Flandre. I think this is this is South Dakota. But then see some very white looking Native Americans too. They look very white Indians. This is Andrew Indian school. Now, could there be some white kids that went to this pretty much mostly Indian school? Absolutely. I'm open to all those things. What we're going to try to show, what I always try to show, is just a preponderance of evidence. It's not like, oh, I looked at this picture and I'm like, well, look at this picture. There's a white girl in the Indian school. That means Indians are really white people. What I'm saying is that Native people, original people to this land, looked all different. All these kids are just really dirty here, but so they looked all different. They didn't always have to look totally native. I mean, these kids all look pretty native, but this guy. So this one, I kind of laughed. I was like, "Oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for," and I thought it was kind of like a joke picture or something. But this is a totally legit picture. I mean, I've been looking at a lot of pictures for the past, and there is some weird stuff going on. I'd be open to somebody showing me how pretty much everything coming through the internet and Google is, being created by an AI or something now. I'd be open to those. I mean, it seems less likely. Occam's razor is always the best place to go. With whether it's believing in vacuum space or whatever simulation theory. Occam's razor makes the most sense. And that's why something like simulation theory gets a lot of play when simulation theory is just it's a Satanist left-handed attitude of creation theory. It's like you don't have to have a bad attitude. But look at this guy with his blue eyes, this very American-looking face. This is the Ojibwa Brave, according to historical photos. Here's 3 Indian children, and they said they were turned out at the St. Louis Hotel on account of their color. 3 little white girls to me. I thought this was just a cool picture. Look at this. Clearly, it's depicting this white guy here, and then this is really interesting here. What it says: "Lo, the poor Indian." We gave him this name, this Indian name, because their skin's redder because they actually go outside once in a while. Why does the white man follow my path? So these guys are kind of understanding that. Like what I'm saying is that Native Americans, half of Native Americans were people were like met up in North America. Like Asians left because they're like, dude, the Catholic Church is all the way in China. So they left. They're all heroin addicts and shit over there. So they left. And then the white people over in America for thousands of years were like, F you Catholic Church. So they left. Okay. And then the Catholic Church follows his path. That's more of the reality. I mean, actually, the alternative view there. And that's what you have to realize when you're reading through all this stuff is you're reading Rome's perspective. Rome defeated us. That's how they look at it. There was nothing really to conquer. It wasn't like really, this was just a bunch of people living over here in anarchy. And then Rome, the government, came over and was like, hey, you guys don't got government. Let's give you guys some fucking government. And that's all that's gone on, So when we're trying to trace back and find some great war, you're not going to find that. You're finding one parasitic system absorbing another. Yeah, you find that when this parasitic system started to absorb, when the people started to wake up, yeah, they scalped a few people, or, they stood up for themselves, like in the book Germania or whatever, the Germans, the common people, rose up against Rome, fought back. And this is what some of these common people look like when they're not in Rome. When you're a white person and you're not in Rome, you might look like this. You might put some goofy shit on your hair. What? You don't care. You don't gotta show up to your job and have you can't wear that at work. You can't cut your hair like that. No. The idea that white people can't live free and do this hippie shit, it's crazy. So I'm not saying that white people invented all this land, this Western, North American, South American land. This is our land. This makes us feel free. This land does. This land makes us want to put goofy shit up on the back of our heads. I like this picture because it shows none of these look like they're in the same race. I do believe that these are all a family. But these are these new North American families that were built from running away from the Catholic Church. That's what we all had in common. Get away from Rome. Get away from... It's banking is what they're getting away from. You look at, it's the Catholic Church. Catholic Church is the religious side of banking. Okay? It's all banking at the end of the day. Banking created religion as a way to spread itself. It's all banking. So here's about the oldest picture you can find of a couple Native Americans. A couple natives. I'm not saying all natives were white. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the native populations were mixed. There was a mix of people. They started looking more and more Asian over time because of how we kind of relate to racism and how, you can imagine over time, it's all fashion. Fashion is fascism. And that's what I believe with the fascists. I mean, yeah, maybe it's an energy weapon, maybe it's this and this, but to me, what it represents is their true power is they control, who's cool, and by doing that, by controlling the fashion, why would you ever need to go to war? As long as you can get your fashions, like banking, if banking is a fashionable thing, as long as you can get banking, if I control the banking, I care not who writes the laws, said some banker once. And so, but yeah, some very native looking people here. I mean, some of them look a little less native, but yeah, some very native. But I want you to see how American these old natives have very American looking features. I'm just like the new natives too. We all have very Comanches. We all have a very American appearance. This is an American looking dude here. Okay. Or two different ones, or maybe it's the same guy dressed up different. I don't know. I think it was actually a grandfather, and then they took a picture of his son later. Really try to contrast them. That's American warrior right there. Brown skin, brown eyes. But this is truly American right here. But I can see some of my own features. My hair is a lot like this. I mean, different things. I'm not saying I got to be descended from this guy or anything weird like that. What I'm trying to distinguish is that we are only understanding ourselves through reflections of Europe and Africa, or Greek and Rome, or Greek and Egypt, which is Rome. The Europe and Africa are dominating our lives. But this is our history. We were white dudes, and we didn't dress up like the Nazis. They had Hugo Boss was their designer. The Nazis were a wholly homosexual or liberal organization, 100%. If you can't understand that, then you're a retard. You know what I'm saying? You can't understand that the Nazis were just an extension of the gay boys club, of Freemasonry, Catholicism. This is all gay boys club. And as long as the fashion of gay boys clubs continues, they don't really care what else goes on, because that fashion is what makes banking possible. It's the root of the game. Look, you got the more white kids. You got to sit with the teachers, or she gets beat on. A lot of native looking kids here. I just really like some of these pictures. So some of these pictures obviously not showing my point as well, but it doesn't. I didn't need to show my point. I didn't even really filter out the pictures. When we get through it, you're going to see what I'm saying. You're going to see what I'm saying. All Native Americans. These are like out of Florida or East Coast somewhere. But these are all Native Americans. This is what the Native Americans looked like. Hey, obviously, so this one looks like your normal Native American in this face. But then you're getting more what we would call European. But now I'm calling it American. And this is an American looking dude. All these guys look like they've been in movies and shit. Because they're American dudes. They're American heroes. You know, even this guy, Blackfeet, but he's got a lot of Asian in him. But you can still see there's an American in this guy. It's American, you know? And so the land, it makes all these people that came from all these different races. This guy's obviously got a lot of Asian in him. Look at this jaw. Okay, American. American man. Here, these two guys are related. Just showing you how, you know, this guy is this guy. This guy's just older. Okay, so his nose gotten a little bigger as some of his features are sticking out more. But the hair is the same. These two guys are related. They're like, yeah, I think they're uncle and something like that. But you see very native looking features, you know, and but also very American looking features. You know, and I was on this kick for a while. I was thinking about how the Masons, like, they invented all this, because they did. They invented all this Wild Wild West stuff, but they invented it off of their great storytellers. You know, these Jews are not. I mean, these Freemasons are not. They're not us. They're Europeans. Okay, and they're Europeans and Africans. Who sits right in the middle of European and African? The Barbary Coast on the top of North Africa. Who are the barbarians? Why did Terry Pritchard call in his Flat Earth movie? He called it's not. It's a Flat Earth movie though. This is all pre Flat Earth. He calls it Cohen the Barbarian. Cohen, a Jewish name. Because obviously, when you look at old maps, you can see that Jews used to be the barbarians, or the barbers, or the pirates, or the people that lived on the North Coast, and so they would get a little bit more of a mixed complexion. And they did a lot of trading on the north of Africa. And so, to me, that's... Anyway, it's a big, long discussion. Here's a Native couple and Native American couple. These are your typical Native Americans back in the day. Couple Native Americans, father, son. Both natives. Native American. I don't need to say Native American every time, but that's what every single picture on here is, a picture of someone that was labeled as a Native American. Most of these guys, I got off this one big Facebook page that had like 80 tribes listed, and you could just go through all the pictures of each tribe. And here's another Native American group of people, all Native Americans. Starting to make sense when they're saying Native American now. Hey, Native Americans. Hey, we obviously know. Oh yeah, those are Native Americans. You know, Mexicans are people from down south. Okay, you know that. These are Native Americans too. Hey, Native Americans. Okay, this boy's a Native American. Hey, this girl's a Native American. This girl, all natives. All these, look, they look Asian and African mixes. They're not from Asia or Africa. They're from America. They're from here. I mean, maybe originally you could trace them back, but why wouldn't all the races be on this land too? I guess would be one of my sayings. Uncle Joe saying how? Native American. Here's this lady. Look at this high cheekbone. Very native features. But obviously, look at this guy. Count Dooku. That's a Native American. You know? So many of our famous actors are Nicolas Cage looking dudes, or there's something to that too. Look at this lady here. This is a Native American. Okay. Blonde hair. Even in the black and white photo, you can see she's got blonde hair, blue eyes. Blonde hair, blue eyes didn't show up as well. I think this is like her brother. This guy's got brown eyes. But look at this. This is a Native American. Okay, this is a Native and full blood, I think, Native American. Okay, that's a Native. Look, this is a Native American right here. Do you see that? Native American. Look up here. Native American. This looks like a black dude, a white dude, and then a bunch of Asian dudes. Another black dude. Hey, what is this showing you? In America, we didn't, for whatever reason, we didn't look as specific to one race. You know, this is a tribe, all one family, probably all blood related directly. You know, but obviously these people mixed with each other enough to where they would just kind of pop out whatever. You know, pop out fucking completely white once in a while. This guy's a Native American. Native, an Indian guy, or an Indian Native American. Who would have thunk it? Native. Do you see her? Do you see her mom in her and her eyes? The great mother. That's a Native American. Here's a nice Native American family. Look at this guy. Native American. Look at that Native American face. Look at this lady. Jessica Alba. God, they're always feeding us back these classic American looks in the TV. It's because we're longing for our past, you know? Eat it up. Here's kind of famous when you look for white chicks. This is what Google will present you with. Oh, this lady was kidnapped and forced to be an Indian sex slave. That's not true. She's just a regular Cherokee lady. Happens to be real white. Happens to like tattoos because people liked tattoos back then. Didn't necessarily like to have their Roman hair circumcision and their wiener cut and all that weird shit. We were more like this guy. We didn't give a fuck. We would fuck you up if you stepped out of line. That's the reality, you know? These big giants, man. And when we went from being giants to smaller people, we just started looking, you know, kind of separate. But this guy is our ancestor. He's a giant ancestor of a giant. This big guy, this big guy can wreck shop. I guarantee you. But this big guy turned into these guys. What we are, Americans. Okay, I mean, some of us are probably inbred now with Europeans because that became fashionable. You know, and now I got a little European, dirty European in my blood, in my good, pure American blood. I want to turn this world from just regular races to like some super next level. My grandma's like, and she just looked at me and confirmed it. I mean, you can't, because obviously racism is not a cool thing or whatever. But we're missing the boat when we're just saying, oh, old people are dumb and racist. Like, they had their reasons for thinking and doing the way they do. I mean, obviously it was, you know, when we're understanding about how the elites control everything and fashion and all that, we have to really start questioning, you know, because obviously these people weren't that racist. These are white ass. These are some of the oldest Native American pictures you can find, too. And then the new guys look just the same, too. That's what will blow your mind later. Is you'll find a new one of these Indians. Oh, yeah, these Indians, I think, from Ontario or something. And then you find the new pictures from today. Look exactly the same. Indians, well, I'll get to those. I'll kind of skip through. So some very native-looking dudes here. This guy, you see, this is a very mixed American. This is like an American actor. Not though. This is like a chief something or other. I double check that as much as I can. You know, I mean, as always. Feel free to question any of this stuff and correct me on anything. I'm flying through some of this stuff. You know, figuring it out. Chief white man. This is really interesting. This is where I start to think photographs are maybe fake or something. Look at how HD this photo from 1931 is. This is an Indian school girls basketball team. You got a black girl, a Mexican girl, a white girl, and then Asian girls. A black girl, a Mexican girl, a white girl, and then Asian girls. And where are we? This is a Native American. I think this is like the word or something. Like this is like their tribe or something like Batu or something. I don't know. But this is what Native Americans were. You talk about these orphan trains and these foundling kids. Those kids got turned, oh, you're natives now. And they would just gather them all up and be like, yeah, you're native enough, you're native enough, and you're native enough. Look at this guy. Look at this American soldier. Buffalo Soldier. You can see that guy's American. Look at his face. See how these guys look like famous dudes? They'll put some famous guy on TV. Then we'll kind of listen to him, because he'll look like that. He'll look like one of our real ancestors. Probably because he was related. Anyway, all right, more Native Americans. This is a Native American family. It's a full family, all Native American. So look at those faces. Look at those faces. That's just a low, regular colonial family, right? Well, that's who Native Americans were, you fucking dipshits. They're just telling you, like, oh, it was just these brown-skinned, Asian-looking fucking people. Who gives a shit? Which is pretty fucked up that we're like that. But now that you can see that these people were your mother, your grandmother. All our grandmothers were like this. They were beaten into submission and forced to take Rome and take banking deep inside them and take it as their god. Here, Indian, Abenaki, 1921. Oh, this is up in New York. These are New York Indians. So these are Native Americans from New York State. Look at this family, Abenaki. Think about Woodstock and these hippies all dressing up. This could have been then in the 1970s or end of the 60s or whatever. This is not. This is like 1925 or whatever. 1900. A white family dressed up like hippies, canoeing. That throws a little wrench in your old Abenaki family, 1900. Look at that family. You see what I'm saying? What I'm seeing? There's your mom. There's your little sister. There's you. What are you doing? Why didn't the history books tell us about that this was a real thing? Upstate New York or wherever. That there were these Abenaki Native Americans. Where did they go? Here's a couple of Abenaki women. Whiter than white can be, 1934. Not saying all natives are white. Here's a couple Algonquins. They're up in New York too. And the Algonquins have a much more Italian type appearance. Here's some more Algonquins, a much more Italian type. Look at this face of a little Italian kid. That's an Italian girl there. Algonquins. What do they have? What does being an Algonquin have to do with being an Italian? There's an Algonquin man. There's a lot of Asian in that Algonquin lady. Where you can see it in there, Couple Algonquin. Look at these. Very pretty. Algonquins, look at this. Look, I don't even have to say it on this guy because they labeled this baseball card. Algonquin Indian. Algonquin. Is that like Algonquin, Illinois? I don't know if that's from anyway, this is what a fucking Algonquin Indian from I didn't put the date on there. From old as it can all be is here. Now you might say, oh, that was just some guy dressed up like an Algonquin Indian, whatever. I mean, that's not what we're seeing, though. We're seeing that this is an Algonquin. This, another Algonquin man. A little more native, Big John. I think when we're looking at the native characteristics, what we're actually seeing is giant characteristics. And so these people can have giant characteristics, and it makes their kind of face kind of acromalgid out and all this. So some people have those things, just kind of a Big John, all this big face, heroic looking face. That's American. That's coming from giant blood. Otherwise, got a little Templar cross in there. It shows how he's made a deal with the Catholic Church to keep quiet about the true history of who Native Americans really are. Look at these guys. Algonquin. A lot of Algonquin people here. I like this picture. It's a dope ass sweatshirt. Man, they had dope ass clothes back then. Here's a family. Here's that. I told this one earlier, but just this one I had it listed on here so people know this is the father, this is the son. Okay, and so it's weird how the older you go back, the more whiter they look. And I mean, maybe it's because they were bringing in more Asian wives, and more Asian wives were coming over. Maybe more Mongol Asian raiders were coming over, and now I look at that as being less. There's less war than they're selling us. There's a lot less war than they're selling us. What there is a lot of is there's just a lot of this trickery. You see all these different races here. Every different race. Clearly Asian. Vietnamese, I hear. And clearly this is very different. This is, an American face or maybe a European, I don't really like to say necessarily where the people are from, but they're different. You can see look at how different this face is than this one, and this face. These are all one Indian school, one big Indian tribe. This is all an Algonquin group. So these are all just an Algonquin group. And you got all these different, look at this black face back here. And this Asian face, and you got a white face. We're looking at reset people, but like a people that were multicultural, not racist. Racism is something that they've really had to bring to America, I think. They've had to kind of invent it here. It never existed. If we ever wake up to the reality of who we really are, we find out who our mothers really are, we're going to be forged together as one people. And Rome will be in trouble then. Just a painting of a Native American. So, the features, What I'm trying to say is that Native Americans, that it's a psyop to say, here's Anna White Duck in Algonquin. It's a psyop to say that Native American features are this Asian-looking eyes and skin, even though you do see that a little bit. But more of what a Native American feature is, look what she has it. She has a big-ass fucking man face. She's a very pretty girl. What I'm saying is that these giant features which make your face kind of look sort of like a mask almost, because your bone is growing more. So, maybe that the Asians do have that a little bit, maybe in some respects or whatever. But what I'm saying is if we're going to talk about race, I'm defining a distinct American race. And Anna White Duck is a great example of it. Where, but so is this guy. This guy's a little white looking, but I wanted to go to a real Asian looking guy. But this he's a good mix. He's got white eyes, got kind of a skew eye like I do, but with the nose and mouth and the big round face of a giant or a native. Here we got a family. These ones don't come in very good, but you can just see it. This is a Native American family. This is Appalachia. So this is like in the Appalachians, like hill people. I guarantee you these hill people, there's some that still understand they're natives. They're Appalachia couple. So here's some hill people from up in the Appalachians. Like, these are natives. They call themselves natives. They're you know what I'm saying? And so now when we look to know what to look for and looking for natives, you're looking for giant features. And that means that you're from this land because the giants are from this land. But as the energy's gotten weaker on this planet, the giants have died off because the same reason churches don't work as well is because you have to stick your towers up higher in the air now. Because Electricity's higher. Here's that same lady again. Your Appalachian woman. Here, Arapaho. Look at this guy. That's just an Arapaho. About the oldest picture you can find. That's what an Arapaho Indian looks like. Here's another one. Arapaho. This is 1899. I mean, if you find out this picture's fake, I'd be like, oh, okay, it looks fake. But I tried to find out if it doesn't. It's not fake. According to the easy, just looking on the internet, it's not some obvious fake. This is an obvious, legit photo from 1899. And this freaking dude is actually this Arapaho Indian named White Turtle. Like I said, you get these old photos, and you're getting these very American-looking faces. And just another example of just a very American-looking face. This is a distinct thing. Native American is a race of giants, and we see the giants. See, and this one you see a little Asian, you see a little giant, you see a little white guy, maybe even a little black guy. You see every race in this guy, but what he is Native American, which is that giant feature. Which doesn't mean he has to be 1,000,000 feet tall. We grow how tall we are depending on the level of electricity or static electricity in the air, because electricity grows everything. So since the electricity is less, we're just not growing as tall. So the giants are gone. The giants are us, though. Or we became them now. Look, you can see most a little bit. This is that American. You see this so much with so many of these the black guys. These black guys aren't African, they're American. They look American. Sound American. We just haven't ever known what American is, but now we're defining it. We're defining what American is. American has to do with something in your bones. It's about being a giant. It's not about growing tall, but giants were like gentle, good-hearted people, and that's what Americans are. And that's what these Europeans can never really understand about us, is that we are like good-hearted people. These Africans, these Europeans, these guys are devil worshippers. They're never going to understand what it's like to be an American. That's American. That's an American. That's an American. That's an American. Proud to be an American. Once you figure out what it is, I've never been, maybe when I was a kid, I was really proud. But then when I figured out what they were teaching us American is, it's like, oh, Americans piece of shit. But when you realize that Americans are our ancestors, these giant people. It's not about being Asian or looking Asian, Native Americans look predominantly Asian in the year 2019. But if you go back to the year 1907, these guys looked mixed. Like a mix of races mixed with giantism, But like I said before, they weren't turning giant because the electromagnetic, the levels of static electricity in the air. This is where you get the tall tales from, Pecos Bill and, fucking Babe the Blue, or what is it? I don't know, those guys. Even Sitting Bull. These guys kind of become legend. And because they are legend, there's this age of heroes kind of left. The Catholic Church, they won out over that. Whatever. They followed the electricity movement. It's what the electricity wanted to do. So we have to respect what the Catholic Church is. The Catholic Church is what electricity has decided to do up to this point. But obviously electricity is going to decide to do something different at each different part of the game. Look at these natives. I think these are natives from Canada. But yeah, hopefully I'm driving the point home with those guys, see the same basic stuff here, very white features, but is this guy a Mexican guy? Is he a fucking, looks like a modern day American, because that's what these are. These all look like Americans, and we all look like Americans still, because we're all pretty much Americans, pretty much. Here's a Cherokee American. Here's a Cherokee and his 3 Cherokee sisters. Oh, here we go. William Ritt, Cherokee. Cherokee, you almost can't find ones that don't look super white. Every single Cherokee person is just completely what we would call European, but now I'm starting to call, well, no, this is just white from the Midwest, and that's where the Cherokee Nation was, in the Midwest. The Sioux Nations and stuff are actually from way up further north, closer to where Alaskan tribes would have been, where they would have looked more Asian. But this is like St. Louis tribe. They're going to look pretty. I mean, you're going to have a mix of black people in St. Louis, in my estimation. Here's your Nicolas Cage Cherokees. These are the Adair family. And I know that now because I've been looking at some of these pictures. Famous family, Adair. Nicolas Cage, I guarantee, was related to them. Here's another one, Adair. You know, kind of looks Asian, kind of looks Mexican. That's American. Kind of looks Mexican, like a Joseph Gordon-Levitt. These are American. These are American people. Oh, I got a little native in me. No, we are all native. We're all native. And I think if you're born in this land, that means you're native to the land. You know. And I didn't add in a lot of African looking natives because that wasn't the point of this video. But that's what got me into this. And I could do a whole other video on showing how obviously, and there's, just as much or more evidence showing you that, and there's people that think all the natives were all black at one time and it's like, no, there's not all black. It's all everybody. Black people live in hot or humid. White people live in drier climates, sometimes dry or hot, sometimes dry or cold. And Indians are usually dry or hot. Dry or hot, and then drier, moist would be black, and then moist, drier, or moist or colder would be your Asian. You got to figure out the basic. The regions of land and electricity are going to dictate things like skin tone. Anyway, this is just another picture of a Cherokee. I just want to show you an example where were nations of people that were multicultural. Okay, so this is a Cherokee. This is a Cherokee. Get it through your fucking thick head. I mean, it's taken me a while because we're all fucking so bred into be racist. It's so hard for us to realize that all these people are your brothers and sisters. All of them. This is only some recent Catholic Church shit that they've got us all to hate everybody that isn't fashionably looking in every single way exactly like us. But now that my eyes are open, I can see every single one of these people are my ancestors. I can see Asian in me. I can see African, or what they would call African, and what they would call European. But what this is just 3 different regions, and then Indian. And so you have then 4. So you have your 4 kind of basic ways of looking, and I can see I'm a mix of all that. Yeah, I'm a little more on the white spectrum, and for me personally, I don't have probably a ton of giantism. I mean, my bones are pretty small, but I can feel that I have the giant heart in me, like when I fight, when you're an athlete, you have to have that. More Cherokee white dudes. So Cherokee 18 is about the oldest picture of a Cherokee you could find. See? Cherokee fought on the side of the Confederation. The Cherokee Nation. They fought against the Roman Catholic Church, Lincoln, and the Roman Catholic banking system. The Roman Catholic mafioso banking system. Look at Daniel Day-Lewis. No, this is a Cherokee from 1909. When Daniel Day-Lewis was playing that part as a Native American in when disgusting Leonardo DiCaprio and disgusting Liam Neeson and their disgusting love for the Pope come over, and the Roman Catholics defeat the natives. Why do they defeat them? Because they're just shipping boatloads of fucking oppressed slaves over, and then the real natives. Look at this guy. That's Daniel Day-Lewis. He knows his history. Crazy. Look at this lady here. 1925, Cherokee Nation. That chick is hot. Here we go. Cherokee. See, they don't always have the big jaw, you know. I mean, maybe she was more of adopted, you know, let's look from Ireland or whatever. She don't got the strong jaw or whatever. But what Shane was showing though is that these are mixed. These are nations of people, families of people, all races. Wouldn't that be better to have a family that has all races in your fucking family? Like this family right here, Cherokee Nation. Look at this, black guy, European looking dude, or black guy, white guy, half Asian Loki looking motherfuckers, and a Nicolas Cage look-alike. That's what a family looks like. Cherokee Committee. Southern Cherokee Delegation of Washington. 1870, got their names here. John Rowland Ridge, Saladin White, Richard Fields, E.C. Bondanao, W.P. Adair. See these Adair looking motherfuckers. Nicolas Cage looking motherfuckers. And then look at these guys. This is like your Emilio Estevez or whatever looking dude. Native Americans, yo. Native Americans, Cherokee couple of natives right here. Blue-eyed. Natives. That's what natives look like. Native Americans. We're all Native Americans. That's why we can't trace our lineage back that far. We're all natives. We bred it all out of us. Native American family. Just a Native American family. Cherokee family. Blue eyes, blue eyes. Blue-eyed women, blue-eyed men. Having blue-eyed kids. I'm not saying that blue eyes like better or anything like that. You're Cherokee, this is a little blonde kid here. Cherokee family. What I'm saying is that Native Americans, the lie, the psyop, and where Native Americans, the ones that are living, are doing a disservice is they're not exposing this history. You know, not because they don't know. None of us know. You know, how hard is it to do a Google search? So, you know, but I had to have the question first, you know, and you know, I had the question come in my mind, you know, and it just not go away. And I mean, I don't really like making these videos necessarily, just because there's really no incentive to do it, and you kind of feel a little obligated when you do this stuff. But I do feel like, you know, at the end of the day, I've benefited so much from watching, you know, so many people's videos like Martin Ledecky and everybody else. But anyway, these are just giant Cherokee group pictures. So this is your nation. This is, so I mean, yeah, I mean, you go back really old pictures and they're dressed like Indians, and then as the culture changes now, at least with the Cherokee, they dress colonial or whatever you would call that, cowboy, you know? And so you kind of wonder, like, well, maybe Cherokee was cowboy, and like we've adopted their way of dress, you know? Like this Cherokee Huckleberry Finn shit, this Midwest shit, this was our own culture. It always existed as a culture. And then this culture kind of started to spread around the world, and then being like, you know, American Wild West and all this stuff, and it became such a selling thing, and then they started selling Wild West and all this bullshit. Walter Thompson Adair, so another Nicolas Cage looking dude. John Lynch Adair, Cherokee. We're almost done, I think. Cherokee. Here's a Cherokee Nation family. I just want to show this one contrast because we're definitely getting some, we would call them African, but no, these are just black Americans. Black Americans. You know, whatever. They have features from people that were, you know, probably closer to the Caribbean or South or Southern America. These people originally come from, where white people originally come from, more like Canada. You know, that's where my family traces back to Canada. That's where we're from Canada. Native Canada. Ain't that hard to figure out? Look at these dudes. Native Americans. You can see these guys are our ancestors. You can see it in their eyes and their faces. These are our ancestors. Cherokee Princess is one of our mamas. Ancestors. I don't know, that girl looks freaky. These are all ancestors, all family members. Okay, some people look different. It's okay to look different. It's okay to celebrate differences as well. It's okay to notice that Native Americans have blue ass motherfucking eyes and recessive gene. So how the hell are just women getting raped, kidnapped left and right? No, there's some of them are white. You know, maybe it's a little less like you just see it in normal society. I mean, look at a cross section of America today. This is what you're going to get. America back then, Native Americans, Native Americans. When they destroy this country, you know, and then they bring it back, you know, and then everyone's so stupid they don't learn their history and stuff. I mean, how will we know that this isn't just going to be pictures of us in a couple hundred years? And we're like, oh, what they were doing. You know, we're just going to get all our land stolen from us. That's what these Europeans do. Let us build up and then take us down. Us. We are the Native Americans. We are the Cherokee Nation. That's it, Cherokee Nation. It's us. This is us right here. Chief Layford Bearskin. Another Chief something or other. Clem Thane. This guy's name was Clem Thane. He's a Coushatta Indian. I wrote that one. If I remember. There's another Coushatta group of Coushatta Indians. Quite a mix, huh? All natives. Same tribe. Tribe. Cynthia Ann Parker. Native. Look at this guy. Fargo, North Dakota. Native American. Couple of Native American ladies. Native American princess. I think these are all Cherokees. There's a lot of Cherokee pictures. They're Native American. That one they made sure to get one, make him real dark looking, you know, because he was going to be on this playing card or whatever. I mean, definitely a lot of these photos, they do a lot of these stage and studio photos. Gathered at Native Americans. Pawnee lady and her papoose, as it's labeled. It's crazy how this picture is like this. Pawnee Indian. Pawnee Indian. And her little papoose. It's a real native looking dude there. I see a lot of white dude in him too, though. Look at this guy. Here's more of these guys. I got so many pictures of these ogres. Look at them, though. Look at these guys. This is that same tribe. These guys are this tribe here. Actually, I should go forward. I got some better pictures. Look at these girls. I love these pictures because it's like I've dated all these girls. I've seen every one of these girls out the club. I know that girl, American Princess. I know all these girls. All these girls are Native Americans. I've seen them all. And, you know, I never knew they were Native American. But it should have been obvious. Shouldn't it be obvious? They're here in America. It shouldn't be obvious they're native to this land. Quit believing what they tell you in school, which these rich psychopaths tell you. Stop believing things people tell you. People are just fucking criminal, man. There's these guys here. There's a little picture of them. Look at that multicultural group of dudes there. Native Americans. You know, it's like they started bringing in more Asian looking guys. Maybe they were recruiting or something, you know. To me, it's that they're obviously, you know, I mean, not, they look like they celebrated things like race, where, you know, obviously, Indian babies, white. Look at how these guys look. So many of them just classic looking American faces. Indian boarding school, re-education camp. You know, is where all our grandparents came from. Pushed into one of these schools and mixed together. And if they could come out and be called an Indian, they probably would do that, you know. This kid moved quick. Neat-o. Native Americans, 1776. Anonymous watercolor before 1776. A Huron and Abenaki of Canada. This is what the Canadian Native Americans look like. At least an Abenaki, which is like more New York, you know, it's more on that side. Huron, Indian. This is where they did yeah, these ones are. Look at this. This is like the new chief of the Huron tribe or whatever. I mean, this is probably from back in the 70s or whatever, I think. I mean, maybe this is from like the 1900s. It's so hard to tell because he's like wearing this goofy shirt. But anyway, this is a Native American. I went to high school with that kid. Skin wasn't quite that dark. It's hard to tell in these pictures, though. In black and white, they might look a little darker or lighter. Almost done. Get us through these last few. Look at this guy. Hey, these are old ass pictures too. Native American. Nanticoke, man, in Delaware. Nanticoke, man, Delaware. Here's another one, I think. Actually, I don't know if it's Nanticoke. Tecumseh. This is our earliest painting. That's what Tecumseh looked like. From Canada, I believe. From that area. And so, yeah, okay, that's what Tecumseh's depicting in paintings. It's looking like that. You know, so it makes sense that these guys would look pretty white, some of them, because that's what they're painted as. That's what they're called. You know, you're Rolling Thunder from the Abenaki. Look at these faces of these Native Americans. Even the very native looking guys, you can see that American in them, you know? We're all Americans. Time for everyone to stop being little dicks. time for all these the so-called Native Americans out there to stop holding up the PSYOP, stop working for the Freemasons. You know, start to realize that it's not just you Asian-looking natives that are native to this land. We're pretty much all native to this land. If we're not native from here, then we're native from over in Europe and Africa. And if you're native from over in Europe and Africa, you should fucking go back there, you know? Go fucking home, motherfucker. And if I'm from there, I found out I was from there, I had a home there, I'd go. You know what I'm saying? I'd go. I want to go home. I think that's what a lot of us want. We just want to go home. We want to find out where that is. You know? But the Catholic Church, these bankers, they treat us like cattle. They treat us worse than cattle, you know? So this is what these Catholic bankers need. They need a little white guy, or not white guy. They need a little native wearing chickens on your head, you know, coming in all races and all kind of wild shit. And we're going to take these colonials and do this kind of shit to them. You notice how none of them, not one of them is getting killed or stabbed. It's just the illusion of violence. Early Indians, early Native Americans. Early Native Americans. I'm getting tired. We're going to be done with this. Native Americans. Native Americans. White. Maybe in the middle, maybe a little darker. These are all Native Americans. Alrighty, I think we're almost done. Native American. Natives. So they drew them. Native American. Native American. That's it. It's a good last picture. It's like, what is that guy? Native American? He's an American. This is a Native American right here. Got a little of each features in this guy. All right. I think that, we went an hour. All right. Well, we'll end there, and since it went a whole hour, I'll have to do my next video. I'm going to do on probably some Google Earth stuff. Just kind of show that, just anybody. I'll just show a few places I've lived and how there's mud flood evidence everywhere. So the mud flood is like, it's I don't know. It's beyond proven or whatever. So, but anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments and whatnot. Like and share this video. Thanks.